This episode and the entire season is proudly brought to you by California Cryobank. Use code QueerFam for a free level 2 subscription at cryobank.com.
Love is love on the Queer Family Podcast. Love is love.
And then literally 3 weeks after giving birth, I got an email in the middle of the night from her saying, oh, I was right. The person that I thought was your donor is your donor. He's done the same test because I sent it to him and it's come up as a paternal match. Here's his email.
Oh my-
And in the middle of the night, and I was like, I was up doing a night feed of Birdie, and I was like, sorry, what?
Oh my God.
And so I was instantly like Googling his name, getting pictures, showing my wife the picture, being like, look. And I couldn't do anything. I was like, I have to go to sleep. I have to start again in the morning.
Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to the Queer Family Podcast, the show all about family, but with gay. My name is Jaimie. I'm your host. And you, my beautiful friends, are tuning into the show whose mission is and always has been to uplift, highlight, normalize, and celebrate LGBTQIA plus families in all of our beautiful identities. And this episode really does just that. I got to sit down with Freya Lyon again. Now, some of you might remember Freya from way back in season 6, episode 10, in the episode titled Queer Mom, Queer Spawn. Yeah, because she is a queer mom with donor-conceived children and queer spawn, which means she is a child of queer moms and was also donor-conceived herself. Y'all, when I tell you, I was leaning in real close to this episode, I am not lying because Freya wanted to come back. Because Freya, first of all, when I last talked to Freya, she had just given birth to her first. Now she has 2 beautiful babies with her wife. She also recently met her donor, y'all. Yeah. She's an adult. She was conceived a while back, met her donor who was supposed to be anonymous all along because this was back in the day. Yep, just met him. And listen, I was leaning in so close during this episode. If I took screenshots of my faces, if you watch the video throughout this entire interview, it could be like a photo album of humor and also the many faces of fear of Jaimie Kelton. I want to be like, fix your face, Jaimie, fix your face, because you can tell I'm like leaning in close. I'm like biting my nails. I'm like, oh my God, what happened? It's a lot. But anyway, I don't want to spoil it for you. It's actually a beautiful story. And Freya gives me all the hope in the world that all of this is going to turn out okay. You know, because as a mother of donor conceived children, I need to know my children are going to be okay. Especially with all that crazy rhetoric out there. I just saw a silly YouTube video of some man talking about the repercussions of same-sex people raising kids and how are they going to learn their gender norms and their gender boxes. And I'm like, it's like, and the amount of likes this video had and the comments, I can't even. So I'm here to combat that one interview at a time. And Freya helps me so beautifully with that. So before I roll the tape, just want to say, one thing, don't forget, support me on Patreon at patreon.com/the Queer Family Podcast. And as you know, I always want to hear from all of y'all. Be you an L, a G, a B, a T, a Q, a I, an A, an ally, whoever you are. I want to hear from you. You can give me a phone call, 646-470-1840, and then you'll be featured on this here little show. Or you can send me a text. You can send me an email at thequeerfamilypodcast@gmail.com. You can also send me a DM in all of the social media channels at The Queer Family Podcast. So many ways to contact me, and you didn't even want them, but there you have them. And I just want to get right into this episode. I have a lot on my mind because I have officially entered the birthday season in my house. Yes, we all have birthdays within about 40 days of each other, and it becomes a thing. Also, Christmas is there, which means I should call it Santa celebration because that's what we celebrate. And so it is a busy time of year for me. So let's just get right into Freya because I absolutely adore Freya, and I think y'all are going to too. So Helen, Beulah, Nicole, I didn't tell you, Helen has a blog, y'all. Go to thequeerfamilypodcast.com. click on the blog. Helen is blogging about these here episodes. I'm not even lying. I am not even lying. Go check it out. Helen wants all of you to subscribe to her blog. And I don't even know why I gave her the opportunity for this, but I did. So now what you have to do is you all have to go to that blog and read the things she has to say about these interviews here. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure I even read them yet. Not going to lie. Guys, Helen isn't real. I don't even know who's writing these blogs. Actually, I do. I know exactly who it is. But anyway, go check out the blog. Okay, let's roll the tape. Helen, Beulah, Nicole, my real assistant, please roll that tape. I love y'all so much. Enjoy.
Queer Family Podcast. Love is love.
Hi, Freya.
Hi.
Oh my God. Welcome back.
Welcome you. Back. Thank you for having me again.
When you reached out, I was like, Freya, you're one of my favorites. I'm not lying.
You can say that to everyone.
Listen, I love all my guests equally. They're like my children, but your episode really is one of my favorites. Those of you at home, if you haven't listened to Freya's episode, it's called Queer Spawn, Queer Mom. It's season 6, episode 10. Is that what I said earlier?
I think it's the other way around. Oh, no. It's one of those.
Let's go listen to both of them. They're both going to be good episodes. Okay, so Freya, holy moly. Freya, give the listeners, who, if they haven't listened to your first episode, kind of your 30-second elevator pitch of who you are, why you're here today talking to the Queer Fam Squad. On your mark, get set, go.
Hi, I'm Freya. I'm from the UK. I was conceived to queer mums in the 90s with a sperm donor. I and my wife then used a sperm donor to conceive our 2 children. In 2020, after having my first, I found my donor, my biological father, and we connected. I've gone on to find 5 of my 15 half siblings and connect with them. And I have found one of my daughter's half siblings, and I'm starting the process of potentially being a known egg donor myself.
What? Oh, okay. That was beautifully done. You went slightly over, but I don't hate you for it. That's okay. Holy, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Because wait, last time I talked to you, you had 1 child.
Yeah, I had 1.
Right?
Yeah.
You had just given birth.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is now, she's 3 and a bit now, my eldest, Birdie. She's like a walking teenager. And my youngest she will be 1 on Boxing Day. So do you have Boxing Day in America? The day after Christmas Day. Oh, she'll be 1 the day after Christmas Day. So yeah.
Oh my God, what a day. We're Christmas birthdays over here too. Oh man, really? It makes December crazy, right?
Yeah, expensive as hell.
Yes, totally. And I'm one of the birthdays, so you know it's expensive. I'm just kidding. No, okay. All right. So holy moly. All right. So wait, let's dig in here. Mm-hmm. We need to do like a basic rundown of your family. Oh my God, there's so much to unpack. Okay. Let's start with the basic rundown of your personal family building journey. Yeah. How'd you get from 0 to 1 and then to 2 kids and all the things that go along with it?
So me and my wife, we decided to use an open ID donor. So that's a donor that's anonymous until the children turn 18. Mm-hmm. And
at a bank?
Yeah, so we went through a sperm bank, and we loved our first so much that we decided to reserve for a sibling, and then we went back and did it all over again for our second.
And who carried?
I carried both.
You carried both?
Yeah, and my eggs
both your
eggs.
eggs?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And they're close in age. Wow.
Yeah, so Birdie was 2 years and 4 months when Kit was born.
So I'm assuming relatively easy conceptions.
Yeah, I am incredibly lucky. They were conceived on our first IUI both times. Wow. Yeah, it was very simple pregnancies, very simple labors. I'm very lucky.
Wow. Okay. So congratulations. You've got 2 beautiful babies.
Yeah.
You're living your queer family life, and I love it so much. Now let's dig into your childhood, your growing up. Because you grew up with gay moms?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You are also donor conceived.
I am. Yeah. So my parents met in the 90s and decided they wanted a baby. Wasn't quite as simple as it was for me and my wife. So they went to the sperm bank, but my mum kind of went as a single mum. And my other mum was there as like emotional support. It wasn't really like
Yeah.
a couple.
My friend.
Yeah. They also used a donor through a bank, but in those days in the UK, it was totally anonymous, always anonymous, was
Yeah.
never going to change. And they had me, and then 4 years later had my sister with the same donor. And my mum carried both, and she conceived both of us on her first IUI with both of us.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Fertile.
Yeah.
Fertile family, huh?
Thankfully passed that down
All
to me.
right.
Yeah.
Are your parents still around?
So my parents separated when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
And my biological mum sadly died 7 years ago. But my non-biological mum, Nikki, is still very much around still. She is grand gaggy to the kids. She's, very much there.
Oh, I love that. So you stayed. I always worry about this because, because of our families. I always worry about, the connection I have. It's not that I worry about the connection I have with each of my kids. I gave birth to one, my wife gave birth to the other. So I have a non-bio connection to one. I always just want to hear, that the kids are still really close with non-bio parent.
Oh God, yeah. Nikki's like my best friend. She was growing up.
Yeah.
I always was close with her. My sister and my mum were very close. But no, Nikki's who I turn to with literally everything. I drive her nuts. I ring her for everything. I'm like, I don't know how to make the washing machine start. I don't know how to order this. I don't know what to get for so-and-so. I literally ring her nonstop. And that's not changed since having kids. I still ring her just as much.
Good. And you call her Nikki.
So I call her Gaggy. It was my first word, and I've never been able to shake it. But then I get really embarrassed. I think past the age of 10, I was like, I can't say this in public. So other
But you
people
can,
say
though.
Nikki. Yeah, and also my kids now call her Gaggy as well, which is just so cute.
That's such a grandma name.
It is. It
right?
works very well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it works for queer families too, because we can call our parents whatever the heck we want.
Exactly.
Really. I think our kids can. See, every time I talk to somebody who is donor conceived and also of queer parents, I lean in really close, as you know from last time.
Yeah.
Because I have so many questions.
Mm.
All right. So, because you just said that you found your donor.
Yeah, I did.
And you called him your biological dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we get into this? Can you tell me, how did you feel growing up about being donor conceived and all the things?
I would talk about this to anybody. I was so chill about it. My parents, it was one of those things I have no memory of having that conversation. I just always knew. It was just part of who I was and how I was raised. And I really wasn't, because it was interesting to other people. I loved talking about it. So at school, I would hold like seminars, to be like, this is how it works. And this is what, especially because I was like in a girls' school, in a private girls' school. So people were kind of like, I don't know how that works. And I was like, right, I'm going to educate you and I'm going to make you know. But I was never embarrassed by it. I thought it was really cool. Like I was different. Everyone else had normal families. But I always said to people, the donor's anonymous, so I'm never going to know him, but hopefully I'm going to get to find half siblings. And that was like, I was always so interested in that. And my moms were too. They always were like, oh, when you turn 18, you can sign up to the donor sibling registry. And we talked about that a lot. And they were very frank about the fact I wouldn't be able to find my donor. Nikki, Gaggy, she was always very sad about the fact I wouldn't be able to find him. She was kind of like, I wish you would have that biological link and you'd be able to find out about yourself. And she was just like, it just didn't work out that way. I was never really sad about the fact I wouldn't know him. I had a lot of sort of curiosities and if something came up, I'd be like, oh, I wonder if I got that from him. That's definitely not from mum. But it was never really a sad thing. It was just, I really would like to know some of those answers. I was fairly used to it after a bit that it wasn't going to happen. And then, obviously genealogy sites improved as I got older, which was not something anyone expected when I was born.
Yeah.
So, so that changed it a bit.
Yeah. What made you decide to search?
So I wasn't searching for him, actually. I really, when all of that stuff kind of started getting bigger, Ancestry or 23andMe, I think is the kind of American one. I remember Nikki saying, oh, do you want to try one of them to find out like the other half of you genetically? Like if I'm from anywhere interesting. I was like, yeah, go on then. So she got it for me as a present and it came back kind of fairly interesting. There are a couple of bits I was like, oh, that's cool. I've got some Ashkenazi Jew in me. But that was it. There wasn't really, it did come up with all of these kind of relatives, but they were literally like 4th, 5th cousins. It was like, but it keeps you on the database. So even if you don't go on it for a really long time, you'll get emails constantly kind of saying, you've got new DNA matches. And every time it was really like fourth cousin, fifth cousin. And I just would click on the email, click off. It was never interesting. And then I got one that was like second cousin. And I was like, oh, that's like the closest I've ever got. And I didn't recognize the name. So I thought it's unlikely to be from mum's side. I'd kind of done my family tree when I was pregnant because it was COVID. I was stuck at home and I was a bit bored. So I'd kind of done a lot of my mum's side of the family tree and I didn't recognize the surname. So contacted him. He was in America and he was like, oh, no, he wasn't. He was in Canada. Sorry. And he was like, oh, well, that's interesting. How are we linked? Like, that's quite far for second cousins. And I was like, well, I don't know half of my background. So it could be from the donor's side. And he got all kind of like, oh, I'm really into all of this. Can I do some digging? And I was like, if you want, sure. I'm not, I wasn't really holding out any hope that it was going to go anywhere. He was miles away. I was like, it's not going to happen. And then he was like, can you upload all of your raw data from doing the genealogy test to something called GED match? And I was like, yeah, sure. And GED match
was... Were you worried that this guy was going to be like a crazy...
No,
like...
he'd kind of added me on social media by that point. We kind of talked quite a bit. But it was quite nice because he was my age and he was really interested in his family stuff. So I was like, no, fair enough. But GED match is so technical, I didn't understand it. So I went on it and I was like, I have no idea what I'm looking for, everything was in like numbers. And so he was like, look, upload the results and then come back to me and I'll try and explain them to you because I've done them a few times. And I came back, gave them to him, and he went, oh, you've got another second cousin, but we're not linked, him and this other second cousin. So he was like, so one of us will be on your donor side. And I was like, that's cool. Okay. Emailed the second cousin because it comes up with an email. So the bonus of GED match is it uses all of the genealogy sites. So if you do one, you only get the links on that one, anyone that's only done that test, which is a little bit reductive. Right. But if you do GED match, you can link to every test that someone's put on. It gives you a load of more matches. And this one, I can't remember what he'd done, but it was one that I would never have done myself. So I wouldn't have met him otherwise without GED match. Mm-hmm. And the person replied and said, oh, actually, I'm his mum. I was just doing my family tree. So I've put the kids' data on. And I was like, oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Explained again. I'm just curious. Donor conceived. And she sent me an email saying, oh, I think I know who your donor is. And then she vanished. And I was like,
what?
Okay. But again, she was in America, this one. So I was like, again, I really don't know how she is going to know who my donor is. I was conceived in London, in the UK.
Was it an American sperm bank? No, it was a UK sperm bank.
UK sperm bank. So I was like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to know him. And I forgot about it. And then literally 3 weeks after giving birth, I got an email in the middle of the night from her saying, oh, I was right. The person that I thought was your donor is your donor. He's done the same test because I sent it to him and it's come up as a paternal match. Here's his email. Oh and in the middle of the night. And I was like, I was up doing a night feed of Birdie. And I was like, sorry, what?
Oh my God.
And so I was instantly like Googling his name, getting pictures, showing my wife the picture, being like, look. And I couldn't do anything. I was like, I have to go to sleep. I have to start again in the morning. But I found this picture when he has quite an unusual surname when I was Googling him, which was a good, because otherwise I'd be sat there going, who is it?
Yeah.
And this old Twitter profile came up and it was the only thing that had a picture of him on it. And the second I clicked at the picture, it was the absolute image of one of my half sisters with the same donor that I'd already connected with. And I went, oh my God, it's definitely him.
Oh my God. Like, you mean he looked exactly like your half sister?
Absolutely. Like they had the same smile from here down. It was just the same person looking at it. I was like, oh my God. And I didn't even question it.
Oh my God. That's wild. And this woman that connected the two of you, how is she related to him?
So she was married to my donor's uncle who had moved to America years and years ago and started a family out there. So it was like the nephew of my donor.
Okay. So you look at his picture, it's your half sister's bottom half of her face.
Yeah.
And what do you do? Like, what is going through your mind? Like, what? Like, tell me all the things.
All I wanted to do was email him then. And I was like, it's 3 a.m. I can't do that now. So went back to sleep. And in the morning, sat and wrote an email out. And the first line of it, which was literally like, you signed up for anonymity. If you want that, that's fine. I was like, I genuinely don't want to kind of come in here and ambush you. I know that at this point he'd done the DNA test, so I thought he must be kind of curious. But I also went like, you didn't sign up to this. It's fine. And left it at that and just said, if you do want to chat though, I'm very happy to email. And he replied really quickly and with this really beautifully written email that was so well worded and so eloquent. And we just talked back and forth from then. Had like a phone call a week later. And yeah, we've met up. We try and meet up sort of twice a year or so. And it's really nice. We've got a really nice relationship now. It's lovely.
Holy moly. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Like a story gone right?
Yeah.
I mean, the best outcome. And it doesn't always turn out this way.
No, definitely doesn't.
We'll be right back.
Queer Family Podcast.
Well, if this interview is not an ad for the benefits and beauty of donor conception, I don't know what is. And listen, if this little interview here has convinced you to create that donor-conceived family of your dreams, I have something for you. I have a code. And it's from the same cryobank that I made my babies at, y'all. California Cryobank, a full-service sperm bank. And for over 45 years, California Cryobank has proudly helped tens of thousands of LGBTQIA plus clients create the families of their dreams, including mine, including many who come on this show. They are the #1 sperm bank in the U.S., and they shipped over 40 countries, and they do have one of the largest and most diverse selections of sperm donors, which is very important. To learn more, visit cryobank.com and use promo code QueerFam for a free level 2 subscription to their donor catalog. You can just go see what's up there. And then if you really like what you see, but you want to see more, you can use that code to purchase a level 3 subscription, which gives you a nice, huge discount. So there's many ways to use it. Go take a look. Go make those families, y'all, and then come over here and talk to me about them because I want to hear your story. Enjoy. Queer Fam. Code QueerFam.
Love is love.
And where is he?
So he is actually back down south in London where I was conceived. But it turns out he had actually donated when he was a student up north near Liverpool, which is now where I live. So we've swapped over, which was really interesting. But also my parents were never told that the sperm had actually come from Liverpool and being transported down. So I'd spent my whole life thinking it was from a donor in London, and actually they've just had a connection with the clinic. So I started finding out a lot about what my parents were told that was not entirely accurate.
That's like really scary to hear,
Yeah.
right? Because we put so much faith in these places that we get our donors from.
Yeah. My parents were given very, very minimal information in the 90s, but they picked my donor because they were told that he was a street musician, and they loved that. Both my parents are musicians. They wanted to find someone that kind of was like that and carried that musicalness. And yeah, so I would go when I went to London. There's a bit called Covent Garden in London where you get lots of street performers. And I often thought oh, that would be where he'd perform if he's in London. And I genuinely look out to see if there was anyone that looked like me. Whole story.
Oh my God.
And then when I met him and we started talking and exchanging those kind of things, I went, oh, were you ever a street performer? And he went, no. He was like, never. But his flatmate who donated at the same time as him was. So the word of mouth had just been mixed up along the way, and they'd given the wrong sort of information.
Oh my God. So he wasn't a musician at all?
No, he didn't play any instrument.
Oh my God. He's like, actually, I'm from the Beatles. Like, can you imagine? That's a lot to take in. But also you seem like you take it on the shoulder like it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully by then I'd learned so much about him that it was kind of funny. I could laugh about it, really. I think my mom was alive, so there would be a part of her that would be fuming. But Nikki kind of went, oh, that's funny. But I don't think Nikki had maybe invested so much in that. Whereas my mom, I think it meant quite a bit to her. But yeah, I mean, even the height as well, they very much embellished on his height. And he thought that was hilarious. When I told him what the profile had been, he was like, no. And even that they said that he was athletic and he runs marathons now, but he was like, I didn't when I donated. He was like, I was like a student and I was doing it because I needed extra cash, which to be fair, I've spent my whole life knowing that would be the case. I literally would say that to people. I was like, I bet he was just short on rent.
He'd tell you, what was going on in his life when he donated and
he just graduated and he was skint and he didn't really have a full-time job. And his housemate had said, oh, I've seen this advert up in the local, I don't remember, uni or something, and gone, should we go and donate? Yeah, probably. And there was like a little group of them and they would go along and donate together. Hopefully not the same room, that would be weird.
If that's not gay, I don't know what is. Okay.
But none of them stayed on, so they weren't really interested in any of the other guys as donors, but they really liked my donor, so that they kept bringing them back until one day he got a message saying, you've reached your 10 family limit. But that was something else. He would thought that the 10 family limit was 10 child limit. So when I emailed and said, oh, there's 15 of us, he went, oh. He's like, didn't think
Oops.
that there would be 15. He'd said something really funny in the first email. He said something like, oh, when my aunt, I think, contacted me and said that I had a daughter, he was like, I just couldn't believe it. And I sort of said to him, like, what did you think was going to happen when you donated sperm? I was like, it was going to make some of us, like, but yeah, he just was like, I genuinely hadn't ever thought about it. And he was like, I thought about the fact that he was like, I kind of would talk about it occasionally and say that I'd donated sperm, but I'd never, it was like, they were never people in my head. Like, you were never a person. I'm kind of not surprised because that's the way it was advertised to guys back then. There was such a divide, like, right. Yeah, there was, and he thought there was no chance he'd ever meet us. So I think he just never really thought about it.
Wow. I have always wondered, like, that's one of my musings, you know, like one of my ponderings. I wonder if he thinks about, you know, the kids out there in the world. I wonder that all the time for all donors, sperm donors. And for me personally, I feel like I don't think I could donate I mean, they're too old and scraggly now, but like, I don't think I could because I think I would constantly be wondering about the kids out there. Everybody's different. Everybody's totally different. So you have been forming a bond with him.
Yeah. I didn't know what we were going to kind of do. When we first started talking, I was like, this could be it. It could just be like an email and I'd get some medical history off him, which I was always quite curious about. And then that would be kind of it. And then we had a few phone calls. And the first time that we spoke on the phone, I was so nervous, but it was like we talked forever. Like it just sort of, his voice was really familiar straight away. And we just got on instantly. Like we have loads in common. We could talk about stuff really easily. There were no awkward silences. And that really took me by surprise. And I think from then I went, oh, actually, I think this is probably going to stick around, this kind of relationship that we're building. But yeah.
Wow, my mind is so blown. So how long did you talk that first time? Do you remember?
Oh, probably an hour, I'd say, the first phone call.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what do you guys have in common?
I think the first thing that I loved the second he started talking, and annoyingly, this is not going to translate across oceans, but we have in England, we've got Radio 4, which is a very like posh radio station, and everyone talks like this, and it's very kind of educational and blah, blah. And he sounded like that the second he started talking, and I thought my mum would love that. My mum would have absolutely loved that he sounds like a Radio 4 radio host. And he just sounded so eloquent, and he teaches literature and he loves books and reading. We talked about reading from the second we started talking. We both are really into crime. Like all of my work and everything is with offenders. And he wanted to tell me everything he knew about like Liverpool gangsters from when he'd lived there. And we just suddenly we'll send each other articles on, like, if we see something, we're like, they'll like this, I'm going to send it. It's really nice. Like we have a lot that we share that I didn't think I was going to share. I thought maybe I'd be able to ask him if like he had dodgy joints like I do. Like I thought that was kind of going to be it. But yeah, just we suddenly discovered we could talk really easily.
It's interesting. You're telling me so many things that you have in common that are more kind of personality based.
Yeah.
Which is really mind blowing and interesting and like, God, just really makes you think about family and genetics and
all of he doesn't look anything like me. I'll say that as well. Like, and I at first, part of me was a little bit, fully my mom. And I kind of knew that, but I was so curious if I would have inherited something. And I haven't really. I think potentially eye shape, and that's kind of it. But I think instantly I kind of went, oh, I don't know, like, are we going to connect? Because in my head, it had only ever been that we might look similar. And then I was like, oh no, actually we have stuff that we get on and can talk about that you could not have decided like it's not something he's kind of made a conscious decision to share. I'm not sporty like he is, but there's stuff there that we're like, no, I like that, and you like that, and yeah, it's definitely made me think a lot more about what we inherit, I think.
Yeah, completely. Whoa. Whoa, my mind is blown. Okay, so you had already gotten to know some of the donor siblings.
Yeah. So at 18, I'd signed up to that donor sibling link. No one had signed up when I first signed up because I'm one of the eldest. Waited a few years, and when I turned 21, I got my first match on there, which was 2 of my siblings that are also full siblings as well. Got to know them. We're really close. My half sister, I was her bridesmaid at her wedding last year. Like we're really close now. And then a year or so ago, I found another 2. We talked a little bit, but that was a bit more of a slow burn. We kind of had each other. One of them I've still never met, and he's just kind of at arm's length, but we've messaged a bit. And then through the genealogy site, again, getting those emails, I suddenly got an email saying DNA match, half sibling. And it was a half brother that happened to have done it. But thankfully he knew he was donor conceived. He just hadn't signed up to the link before. But we had a really weird conversation at the beginning when neither of us knew if the other one knew that they were donor conceived. And I was like, I don't want to break this in an email. So I didn't know how to do it. So it was a really strange kind of, so how could we be related? And then finally went, oh yeah, thank God.
Because you don't know, and you don't want to oh my God, you don't want to be the bearer of this news.
One email could totally change that person's life. And I was like, oh my God, I don't think I want to do that over an email.
Are any of them from queer parents?
Yeah, 3 of them are. 2 are from straight parents and 3 are from queer parents.
Have you come across any who didn't know?
Not yet. All of them have known. The 2 from straight parents, I think, found out slightly later, but the ones from queer parents had always known. But interestingly, 2 of them that were from queer parents hadn't known they were donor conceived until they were teenagers. So their parents had separated and they'd gone between the parents, but kind of had just seen them as a mum and their mum's best friend.
Right.
And they'd never known. They just hadn't really thought about it. And I still can't really get my head around that. But they were like, yeah, it just wasn't really something we talked about. It wasn't, which I think is always interesting when I come across now queer parents that are like, well, we don't need to talk about it with our kids because they know they're donor conceived. And I'm like, actually, it might be worth having a conversation.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I just assume that we all talk about it, and also I guess like in an instance where you are going between parents' houses, so your friends aren't seeing you with your non-traditional makeup all once, so your friends aren't asking. Like my kids, their friends ask them about it. Like, how do you have 2 moms,
Yeah.
And so they've had to learn how to explain it. Wow. All right. So you have found 5.
Yes. There are 15 of us in total. So there's 5 half siblings and then me and my sister. So there's 7 of us that are in contact so far and another 8 to find.
Oh, how about your sister? Has she connected with the donor?
My sister isn't interested. She knows everything. I would send her the emails and tell her about stuff, and we'd talk occasionally on the phone. She doesn't really like to talk about it, but she just was like, you can give me the odd update, but I don't really care. So yeah, she really has not had the same interest as I have at all. Same with the siblings. She's met 2 of them, but doesn't really talk to them. She just kind of met them to meet them once. So yeah, very different approaches there.
Yeah, it really is. From the same exact family.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, definitely.
How about the other donor siblings? Have they connected with? Is he open to just connecting with all of them?
Yeah. He's dead eager. Like when we came across the newest one, I've always been like, he describes me as like the gatekeeper because I was the first to meet him, and then I'd introduce him to the half siblings. And then when we met this half sibling, it was through my genealogy site. So I was then introducing him to everyone. He did a radio show on Radio 4 a while ago. He did a phone in where they were talking about the fact that in England, they're opening it's the first lot of people that are meeting their donors now. They're turning 18. So it's a big year in England for that. And they did a phone in for people that were donors or had been donors in the past or were new ones. And he rang up to say how important it was that donors connect with their donor conceived children. I was so proud. I was listening to it, but he was talking about me, and he said like, my eldest, well, I'm not the eldest, I'm the first, which I think makes me feel like an eldest. She's been the gatekeeper. She's introduced me to kind of everyone and run all of that. But he's so eager to get to know everyone, and he was like, we'll go at your own pace. If you want to talk, you can. If you don't, fine. It's just been really nice.
Have you met in person?
Yeah. Oh yeah, lots. But we also had a sibling day with him the other day. We all went to Birmingham, which is quite near me. We all got the train from various parts of England and met up, and it was one of the hottest days of the year, and we just had drinks in a beer garden for the afternoon, and it was me, 3 of my half siblings, and our donor, and it was lovely. It was like my first kind of baby free afternoon as well, and we just all got pissed together. It was really nice.
Oh my God, perfect afternoon. Wow. My mind is blown. I'm so happy for you. Because you do have to manage your expectations when you're going into this.
Yeah.
You don't know if you'll like each other, and you don't know if the donor will be a disappointment to you. And I worry about that with my kids a lot. Like, oh God, what if, I think he's probably the best guy in the world. But what if it turns out to be a real a-hole? And then, so God, I'm so happy for you. This is such a beautiful, happy ending story. And it's not an ending. It's like ongoing.
Yeah.
What do you call him?
So, I use his name when I talk to him normally, but I've started calling him biological father if I talk about him, because I'd always referred to him as donor. I was always quite happy with that. But once he became a person and was in front of me, donor felt really detached. And whilst that is still a sort of definition of what he is to me,
right,
it felt weird. So it turned into biological father or bio dad in a kind of casual setting.
Right. And keeping the bio in front shows that there's more story to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And how does your mom feel about it?
Oh, she's met him. So so it was like the 3rd time I think I met him, and I said to Nikki, because she was going to come down anyway and take Birdie out for lunch and stuff, so that me and my donor could go out and just have lunch together. But afterwards I said, do you want to meet him? Do you want to come in and see him? And she was like, yeah. She was nervous, and I knew she'd find it really weird, but she was like, no, I'd really like to meet him. And she sat just kind of between us and just kept looking between the 2 of us. And she was like, it's so weird. Because she was like, I pictured this the whole time, like since you were born. She was like, I looked at you in the hospital and thought, gosh, you know, there's something there with your eyes. You don't look like mom completely. Something's there. And she was like, I've always wondered what he'd look like. And I think she was like, I feel strange, but I'm so glad I've got to see him. And she loves hearing about him now. Anytime I meet up, she wants to know how he is and stuff, which is really nice. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this. This is warming my heart in all the right ways. We'll be right back.
Queer Family Podcast.
We are Gatriarchs, 2 of the world's okayest dads.
And while we love our kids, they can also be a-holes.
So every week, we get together and talk it out, one horror story after the other.
Like the time my 3-year-old asked his grandmother if she has a penis.
And the time I ran out of wipes in public and had to use Dunkin' Donuts napkins dipped in iced tea.
Being a gay parent is hard.
Hard.
Join us as we trade war stories over a nice box of wine.
Gatriarchs. Less goop, more baby poop.
Love is love.
So I have a question for you as a donor-conceived gay mom yourself who did the donor-conceived route. This is I'm asking you a personal question, actually. I feel like you're an expert way more than I am on this. I recently found out who the donor is.
Right.
And got an adult picture of him and know his name and was told he's open to being contacted.
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm just asking you, what would you do in this situation? You have kids who are donor conceived. My kids are a little older. My kids are almost 11 and 6, basically.
Yeah. If that was me, if I found that out, and my kids are small, but I would be going for it. I'd be at least beginning those conversations with him. I probably wouldn't jump straight into meeting, but I'd be having those chats and going, this could be great. It would be lovely for you to meet the kids. It would be lovely for you to meet me. I don't know if my wife would feel the same, interestingly. I think she's always taken a slight step back. She was like, no, go for it. But she kind of wants them to make those decisions, which obviously they're too small at the moment to do. But I would be wanting to lay the foundations at least so that if as they got older, they wanted to, I could go, great, here you go. Rather than let's start looking now. I'd be kind of laying that foundation work a bit more, I guess.
Interesting, because what I did,
I
I don't think I did it. I'm handling it terribly. But I wish I had asked you first because I had this new information and because I had the new picture.
Yeah.
And because my daughter is 11 now, right?
Yeah.
So we've been talking about him. She knows. And anytime she asks, we pull out the folder, we look at the pictures, we look at his essay, all the things. Now I have this new picture, right?
Yeah.
And I have this new information. And I'm of the belief from all the interviews I've done that you just need to be as open and honest about
Definitely. Yeah.
the donor
Yeah.
and the whole process as you can. So I was like, well, we got to let her know that we got this new information.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't reach out to him at all. I kind of just didn't even answer that whole thing. When the next time my daughter brought him up, I said, oh, I have a little more information about him and I have a new picture. I have an adult picture. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, sure. So I showed her that. And then I told her, he said he's open to being contacted. Is it something you want to do? And she was like, nah. And I was like, okay, so we'll leave it at that.
That's very 11 years old, I think. Yeah.
So now I've already kind of put it in her court at this point.
No,
So now
I like
I would
that.
feel.
I think the age thing as well. I think it's so easy to say what you'll do when they're small. And then as they get older and they have their own opinions, it's going to be very different how they'll approach it. So I think how your daughter's going to feel about it. And clearly she's gone, yeah, we'll think about it. I'll come back. Because interestingly, my donor has 2 of his own kids. So I have another 2 half siblings, but they're a lot younger. They're teenagers. And so one of them's not much older than your daughter. He took a while telling them because he didn't know how to kind of have that conversation. And I was like, please tell them because I don't want them to find out. And the more siblings we were finding, I was starting to worry that it was going to be a lot of information for them to get all in one go. Like, not only do you have some half siblings, you have this many that are all here and all ready to get to know. Because we sent him a Christmas card the first year and it has like a picture of Birdie in, and he put it on his mantelpiece, but was just telling them that it's like a family member. And I was like, you need to have that conversation. And he finally did. And they responded as teenagers just going, okay, we'll come back to that. Like, when we want to, we'll talk about it. And I think that's a really kind of normal response. I was like, yeah, fair enough. At least they now can muse on it a bit or go, I'm not interested right now. I'll come back to that later. And I like that. I think it gives you time to process a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's me. I mean, and you've been there. You've been there. You're on both sides.
Yeah.
It's so nice to hear your thoughts on the matter, but I am heartwarmed in all the right places right now with your story. This is amazing, Freya. Oh my God. And you're gaining kind of this bonus parent.
I keep saying I love that we've got this kind of hodgepodge family. Like, it's not simple and it is confusing, and trying to explain it to people is confusing, but it's not confusing in a bad way. It's confusing in this kind of, oh, right, okay, hold on. We've got this, right? I've got these siblings and I've got this sister that's a slightly different sister. And I love it. I think it just makes our family so much more, we love each other in this way because we understand how love is created, and it's not a given, and it's not this kind of, it's lovely and mishmash. And we've just started having those conversations with my eldest daughter, and she gets so excited. Like, we've got the book Zach Safari, and there's the line in it where it's I have a donor, and she always goes, I have a donor, and she just gets so excited. And I'm like, yeah, it's so cute. It's trying to show that it doesn't have to be kind of good or bad. It's just this kind of weird mishmash, interesting thing. And